Hello and welcome to FEB News. The mainland's 8-day-long Lunar New Year break, also known as the Spring Festival Golden Week holiday, ended yesterday. During this period, more than 1.2 million mainland tourists traveled to the SAR. The figure exceeded the pre-pandemic figure during the same period in 2018. The tourism sector hopes that authorities will roll out more measures to attract tourists to stay overnight in the SAR. Timothy Lee has our top story.
The Lunar New Year break ended for Hong Kong residents on the 13th of this month, but mainland residents enjoyed an 8-day-long holiday. Over the course of the 8-day Golden Week, around 1.4 million tourists came to visit the city, with some 87% of them from the mainland. They included around 1,980 tour groups made up of 66,000 people. The number of mainland tourist arrivals began to pick up on the second day of the Lunar New Year. That's the 11th of this month, when there was a fireworks display. The number peaked on the following day, reaching 185,000. This as an average of 157,000 visitors arrived in the city per day during the 8-day break. This figure surpassed that of the same period in 2018, but has yet to reach tourism levels in 2019. Hoping to continue the positive tourism trend in the city, the Travel Industry Council of Hong Kong suggests that authorities organize more mega events in the future. The council's executive director, Fanny Yeung, stressed the recent string of mega events allowed visitors to see that there are always new activities to participate or watch in Hong Kong. She hopes authorities can seize the opportunity and promote upcoming events sooner to tourists. This as Hong Kong Tourism Association Executive Director Timothy Chui suggested public transport discounts be offered to tourists. He emphasized the measure could incentivize tourists from the Greater Bay Area to spend more and stay overnight in the city. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yeung noted tourists who came to Hong Kong over the Lunar New Year holidays have given largely positive feedback. Meanwhile, many in the hotel sector said the business situation fared better than expected during the holidays. Regarding the resale sector, shops selling beauty products and jewelry reported growth in business, while many other sectors suffered losses of up to 10% compared with pre-pandemic levels. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Guangdong staged the province's high-quality development conference in Shenzhen today. Huang Kunming, Communist Party chief of Guangdong province, said there will be more collaboration with Hong Kong and Macau talent to help the province become a top-tier innovative economy by 2035. Huang said Guangdong's regional comprehensive capability for innovation has secured a top spot nationwide for the 7th consecutive year. With rich resources in technology and innovation, the province has an important mission and duty to deliver high-quality development, Huang said. He revealed Guangdong will roll out a series of tech and research projects this year and introduce technology upgrades for more than 10,000 factories. There will be more collaboration too with talent from Hong Kong and Macau, Huang said. On the second day of the 60th Munich Security Conference in Germany, top politicians and diplomats from around the world continue to discuss pressing global and regional issues on defense and diplomacy. Foreign Minister Wang Yi once again stressed Beijing's strong opposition to Taiwan independence, while blasting some foreign forces for trying to mess with Xinjiang in a bid to disrupt China's development. In the annual security summit in Munich, Germany, Foreign Minister Wang Yi delivered a keynote speech during the China in the World session and spent half the session answering questions. They include questions on Xinjiang. Wang criticized allegations of forced labor in the region, in which Uyghurs and other Turkic minorities are said to toil in factories as part of the assimilation campaign. Calling the accusations a pack of lies, Wang said these are fabricated information from different parties, saying that the aim is to stop the development of China, because China's development has triggered unease and anxiety from some countries. On the Taiwan issue, Wang said the international norm is to adhere to the One China principle. In order to maintain peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait, he said it is necessary to resolutely oppose Taiwan independence. On the second day of his trip to Munich, Wang met with Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba to discuss bilateral relations, trade, and the need to restore a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. When meeting French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné, Wang expressed hopes that France would play a constructive role in the healthy and stable development of China-Europe relations. Wang has held more than 10 bilateral talks in Munich so far. The foreign minister will visit Spain after his stay in Germany. That will mark the first time in 6 years that a Chinese foreign minister visits Spain. At least 340 people have been detained by Russian authorities at events across 30 cities in memory of opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Navalny, a 47-year-old former lawyer and President Vladimir Putin's most formidable opponent at home, fell unconscious and died on Friday at a remote Arctic penal colony, where he was serving a 3-decade sentence. In an interview with NBC's Andrea Mitchell in Munich, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris reaffirmed America's commitment to Ukraine and NATO, with some tough words for Putin a day after the death of the top Russian dissident.
Tonight, Alexei Navalny's death sparking outrage among his supporters in Russia and around the world.
We know that Putin is responsible.
Across Russia, Navalny's grieving supporters laying flowers in his memory and praying, braving a ban on any tributes, more than 300 arrested. His mother trying to retrieve his body from the morgue and stop Russia from hiding evidence of possible murder. But she's told his remains are no longer there. His spokeswoman tweeting, "It's obvious they are lying and doing everything they can to avoid handing over the body."
Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you.
In an exclusive interview, I pressed Vice President Kamala Harris on this question, and also who's responsible for Navalny's death.
Is there any indication that it's not Vladimir Putin? Do we have any evidence?
We will verify it at some point.
His spokesperson has said they want the body back and that the Russians are now investigating his body. Destroying evidence, perhaps?
Well, I wouldn't put it past them, but we'll make a determination.
The death of Putin's most celebrated opposition leader galvanizing world leaders gathered in Munich, along with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Putin is a threat to all free nations. Putin is the monster who invaded Ukraine and killed thousands and thousands of people and kidnapped and deported at least tens of thousands of Ukrainian children.
Harris meeting with Zelensky and promising the U.S. will send more weapons.
We stand with Ukraine. We have stood with Ukraine since day one.
We are thankful for this, but we need now your unity during such a challenging period for us.
But with Ukraine retreating overnight from a frontline city, now decimated by Russian attacks.
Do you think that Ukraine can survive a year, this year, on the battlefield without American aid?
Ukraine needs our support, and we must give it.
Do you think that Vladimir Putin has been emboldened by what Donald Trump said about NATO and about Putin?
I mean, the idea that the former president of the United States would say that he, quote, encourages a brutal dictator to invade our allies, and that the United States of America would simply stand by and watch. No previous United States president, regardless of their party, has bowed down to a Russian dictator before. And now we are seeing an example, something I just believe that the American people would never support.
Former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was released on parole early today from a Bangkok hospital where he spent 6 months serving time for corruption-related offenses. Thaksin was seen wearing a neck support inside one of the cars in a convoy leaving the Police General Hospital just before sunrise. A polarizing figure in Thai politics over the past 2 decades, Thaksin was in office from 2001 until he was toppled in a 2006 coup. The 74-year-old was later convicted of abuse of power and other misdeeds while in office. In August last year, he returned from more than a decade of self-imposed exile to serve his prison sentence. His original 8-year sentence was commuted to 1 year by Thailand's king on September 1st. Today, he arrived at his home in Bangkok about 1 hour after leaving the hospital. Opponents charged that serving his sentence in a luxury wing of the police hospital was a special privilege. Welcome back. Israel is continuing its attack on southern Gaza as it targets Hamas. Protests in Gaza, Israel, and around the region, a high-level security conference, and new moves at the United Nations all seem to have held little impact on Israel to agreeing to a ceasefire. David Garrett reports.
As the bombardment further south in Rafah continues, this video from outside a hospital in central Gaza. Multiple Israeli strikes caused a queue of the injured inside and out. Those hurt kept coming. In another part of the hospital, bodies in white bags piled up, with health officials saying more than 40 were killed. Even more were injured. Inside, doctors tried to get to work on children and other vulnerable patients first. These Israelis have had enough of their war. They are angry the government has failed to bring back all of the Hamas-held hostages. Many say the war on Hamas in Gaza is not making Israel safer. They fear it may stoke another October 7th style attack.
We must replace the government right now. We must, either way, go for election, immediately election, or there is another way to replace our Prime Minister.
These Gazans in a refugee camp have already been displaced and expect to be again. They complained at the lack of aid and awful living conditions. Although they have survived Israel's 4-month war, they say they are dying slowly. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Taiwan Affairs Office under Beijing State Council has criticized Taiwan authorities over the incident that saw 2 mainland fishermen fall into the sea and die. The incident occurred on Wednesday after the men's boat was expelled by the Taiwanese Coast Guard in waters off Kinmen. Beijing criticized Taiwan authorities for their disregard of human lives. The Taiwan Affairs Office said fishermen have been operating in the area since ancient times without any so-called restricted or prohibited waters. Fujian's Marine Police will strengthen enforcement action with more regular patrols taken around the waters near Xiamen and Kinmen to protect the lives and safety of fishermen there. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council earlier denied the mainland's allegations, saying the expulsion of the fishing boat there was conducted in accordance with the law, and the waters near Kinmen were supposed to be restricted or prohibited zones under the cross-strait rules. Hong Kong will hold the first Belt and Road Festival later this year to enable more people to get to know the transnational initiative. That's according to the government's Belt and Road Commissioner Nicholas Ho. Speaking on a TVB program, Ho also said he plans to take more local companies to visit Belt and Road countries to explore business opportunities. Timothy Lee reports.
Hong Kong has been holding a Belt and Road Summit each year to provide a platform for businesses and policymakers to exchange ideas, build networks, and negotiate deals. But many people in Hong Kong are still unfamiliar with the Belt and Road Initiative, even though it was launched by Beijing more than 10 years ago. Nicholas Ho, the government's Belt and Road Commissioner, said on a TVB program that the inaugural Belt and Road Festival will be held this year.
This year at the Belt and Road Summit, which will be held at the middle of September, we will be creating the first ever Belt and Road Festival within the summit period with different types of events under the Belt and Road theme, including culture, sports, music, arts, so on and so forth. The goal is to increase the public awareness, increase the people-to-people bond. Belt and Road Initiative is so much more than just business. Its core goal is to be inclusive, is to have collaboration between the people.
As for other plans this year, Ho wants to create more collaborations.
This year we'll be leading more delegations for Hong Kong companies, SMEs or startups or youth to go out to Belt and Road countries.
Ho said Hong Kong companies have advantages in such areas as green developments, biotechnology, and the digital economy.
It's important for us to help companies go out and achieve success. But more importantly is to bring in these interests, bring in this company to Hong Kong, use Hong Kong as a springboard to multiple markets, or use Hong Kong as the hub for regional business, setting up a regional headquarters.
Most Belt and Road projects have been infrastructure buildings in various countries over the past 10 years. Ho said such projects had helped improve logistics and lower the threshold for trade, and the coming 10 years will be a golden period for these markets. He also said a free trade agreement between Hong Kong and Peru could be coming soon. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The giant Chubby Heart installation, which was taken down yesterday because of strong winds, was back on display earlier today. The art display over Statue Square in Central was taken down yesterday afternoon as the wind speed exceeded the floating heart's wind tolerance. But the installation was once again hovering above Central before noon today. Meanwhile, smaller Chubby Hearts were on display across the city in places such as Peak Galleria and Peak Road Garden. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.